Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. Today I want to give you guys my final update on my Archmage Scion / Ascendant, and oh boy, I just love this build. So first of all, Archmage is something from the past. It's like a relic. Archmage used to be good once it got released, like I don't know, like 10 leagues ago or something, but then they completely gutted it. I think it was Expedition League, and since then Archmage is just in such a bad spot. But I just really enjoy the mana stacking archetype when it comes to like Mind Over Matter, Agnostic, these kind of builds, you know. And despite the fact that it's not like the strongest build of all time or whatnot, I just love the playstyle of it. I love the tankiness especially of this, the clearing aspect, and so on and so forth. And I would recommend playing a build like that any day of the league. But this is not a build that does like 500 million DPS or is an immunity build or something like that. It is just a very well rounded beast, basically, right? I'm currently farming all the challenges with this build. Today on stream we finished like 37, so now we're gonna do like a heist day, and then we're gonna throw in the character into some Titan Forges and do like the last 3 challenges. But overall, nah, I just really like this build. Okay, map showcase first. This my current farming strat is not really a farm. Yeah, it's a bit of a farming strat. Okay, it's just like Eldritch, like the blue Exarch, not Exarch, the blue Exarch, the blue Eater of Worlds dude, right? So I was just farming this, like click on like 250 altars, so I finished that today with some Legion, strong boxes, and shrines, basically, right? Blocking out all the other league mechanics. So let's just run a map showcase. This is basically Legion, Ambush, Divination, Reliquary in a cemetery map. This is what I've been grinding the past couple of days. And obviously with Arc, it is a lot of fun to do so because you can like pop these Legions quite well. This is a bit of a problem because you don't really pop the Legions because it's not an Ignite build. So you literally have to, it's an on-hit build. It's an actual Arc casting build, and that means you, in order to pop an entire Legion, you would actually need to kill everything at once, right? Which barely ever works. It works on an Ignite build, so that will be the next step, trying to make this build as an Arc Ignite build to be able to actually pop those Legions, right? But if you're wondering, I'm using Lightning Warp with Brutality. What Brutality does is just saying no chaos damage, no elemental damage, so basically my Lightning Worm doesn't deal any damage, and the reason for that is because my Lightning Worm is actually doing so much damage that it kills monsters. And as you see here, I can just like Lightning Warp on top of the monsters and nothing happens because I want to kill the boss before doing anything else on this map, just because I want to block all the boss modifiers from the Eldritch altars. So let's do that first. We're just gonna go over here and search the boss room. Obviously, I'm not gonna find it instantly. What is this? Okay, here we are. So there is still some form of a mana issue if you are unlucky. And with unlucky, I mean we are using the Nexus Glove as a ritual base, which says 30% chance when you pay a skill cost to get that much mana. So sometimes I can hold down my Arc and I will not run out of mana, as you see over here. But sometimes if you're unlucky, you run out of mana. So that's why it's a little bit awkward sometimes for very tanky like bosses or guardians or whatever bosses you want to kill. Maybe like 100% Crucible, Monster, Uniques, those kind of bosses, they, if you're unlucky, could take a while. And once you're seeing this like kind of like, let me quickly check that, this spike of my life pool, this is basically when I'm activating my Vaal Righteous Fire. So now we're blocking all the boss nodes, and then I usually just click on the minion nodes because I'm too lazy to read, and actually all I want to get is the Divine Orb Shrine. So now we're getting a Legion, pop Vaal Arc, and then just run around a little bit and clear off the rest. That's what I mean. You know, it's very hard to like one-tap, for example, a Legion boss, you know? They have like a lot of life. With Vaal Arc Ignite, this might actually be something that would work, but as an on-hit build, it mostly doesn't work. But nevertheless, sometimes there's just like one monster just doesn't want to get popped. So I'm running away, getting my Vaal Arc ready, popping Vaal Righteous Fire, getting into the middle, and just sap everything, click on all the hordes and whatnot. Build is really tanky, I would say, and with really tanky, I'm talking about like 100,000 or 130,000 EHP, and this might look a little bit awkward for some people because they see my 3k life and they're like, bro, how could you have so much tankiness, right? But we're Mind Over Matter, we're agnostic, so I think I run 48% Mind Over Matter. That means 48% of every hit is based on mana, so you can basically just easily double my life pool, and that would be over 7,000 already. So let me quickly get like any kind of weapon so I can show you a crucible. Obviously this has too much dex. Maybe this one. Okay, I can wear this one, so I can just give it like a showcase. The way I'm doing this, I just hold down until it stops itself, which is 100% lethal crucible. And yeah, barely ever die on this build. So, as I said, really tanky, really fucking enjoying it. If there is a unique monster here, which I actually hope that we find one. We do not, sadly. Oh, there is one. So now you're gonna see what I mean with the sustained mana if you're lucky or unlucky. So we are just killing off these rare monsters, and now my arc deals more damage because we run Awakened Chain. That means for each remaining chain, this is like how what does it say? Arc works. For each remaining chain, we deal more damage. So now this boss alone, I'm dealing more damage. So I'm gonna put down my circle here. I'm gonna pop my Val Righteous Fire. I'm popping my Val Arc so we get the lucky buff, and then we can just burst down kind of the monster. But as you see, it is just sometimes I'm running out of mana. This is a little bit unlucky. But still, as you see, I'm getting a 50% shock on this guy. Or at least I just had a 50% shock. Now it's back on. But those monsters with 100% lethality, you know, it's not like that my build is doing bad damage. It's just like these 100% lethal unique bosses are just like super tanky. But as you saw, I'm really tanky as well. Okay, let's finish off the rest of the map. Some nice Val Arcs, some clicking over here, some clicking over there. And as I said, absolute joy to play this build. Would recommend 10 out of 10. But there is one thing that I still have to do, and this is probably what I'm gonna do like maybe tomorrow or in 2 days or something, to make like this end game rush. Okay, which means I want to do 100% daily map on this one just to try it out, see how good it is. I want to do all the Uber bosses as well as like a Simulacrum Wave 30, like all these kind of things. And I personally guess that this build will be just fine of doing so. We're gonna find out if that's the case or not. But as I said, like for this like fully juiced maps, I even did a 100% daily map already, and it was just fine. It's not like that you're gonna kill the map without within like 5 minutes, or at least like 5 minutes, like 1 minute, right? It's not a mage build, it's not a headhunter build, so it's an ethical build, okay? Not saying the way I built it was right, was cheap, but as I said, no mage blood, no headhunter, so solo self-unviable, right? Good. Map is clear, as you saw. Pretty neat clearing kind of things, and I'm gonna skip the loot because I don't really care about currency too much at this point of the league. Good. Let's talk about the build. As I said, it is a mana stacker. So what we are doing here, we're picking up Scion because Scion has the added benefit of getting Hierophant, increased maximum mana, 8% Mind of a Matter effect, Arcane Surge, more spell damage, and Arcane Surge once we start casting. So Arcane Surge is like mandatory. And then it's basically a mix of like getting as much mana and mana regen as possible, getting a bit of a life node, and then just take the mandatory things like Agnostic, like Arcane Surge, you know, the good stuff. But primarily, it's all about mana. As you see, I have here all the mana nodes, here the mana nodes. I stacked the complete mana nodes over here, going up there. This is also like life and mana regen, which is very good. Here, all the mana nodes, up here, mana. It's all about mana, because mana is everything on this build. It's your damage, it's your survivability, it's your feels good thingy, right? And basically, Mind of a Matter is that 40% of our damage is taken from life. So if I get a 10k hit, I'm gonna get like 6k on my life and 4k on my mana. And since we're running Scion, it would be like 48% on mana. The good thing is here that we can now run Agnostic, and what Agnostic does is sacrifice 20% of mana per second to recover that much life. This is like you say, a life flask on steroids, right? So if I would just go over here and buy like a life tab, so we're actually spending life for our skills, or no wait, actually I just need to get this mastery. Let me quickly respec 1 point, so you see what I mean. So now I'm just picking this one mastery over here that says skills cost life instead of 30% of mana cost, which that means is instead of like 1800 mana, it's probably gonna be like, I don't know, like 400 life and the rest mana, like 560 life. So I'm not having any life flask, and I'm just holding down arc, and you see how fast my life regens, right? This is because I'm sacrificing 20% of my mana to recover that much life. That means with like 7.5k what I have right now times 0.2, that means like a flat 1500 life regen per second. That also means that we are kind of not immune, but it feels like immune to any kind of dot, okay? Because this is the problem a lot of builds have. They have like good leech, good damage reduction, but they don't really have a form of like good recovery, you know? So even if you play like with Chaos Spirit Gloves, you know, you have like your life regen based on your, or at least your life regen is now working as your rage regen and stuff, but regen itself is very rough. Like Inquisitors and stuff have like good regen, and this build agnostic, as you see, I have like 1500. It's like 50% of my life recovered per second, which just feels so amazing. This would be the kind of character that I would take into labyrinth grinding or something like that, because I cannot die in any trap. You know, I can just walk through every trap and just burn there and go AFK, because agnostic and my mana regen will keep me alive. Good. Let's quickly put this one back in. Good. Mana, as we said, is our defense and offense. Why offense? Because we're playing this with Archmage. What Archmage is doing is you get added lightning damage equal to 75% of mana cost, and the mana cost gets up to like 5% of unreserved mana. So that's the base mana cost, right? So if I have like 7 mana basically, this is 0 times 0.5, so this is the base mana cost, and then we get all the multipliers from our support gems, getting my arc at the moment at 1800 mana cost. Don't get fooled over here, please, right? I'm even running something like reduced mana cost. Why would you do this if you're playing an Archmage build? This is an actual damage loss, which is true. But there is one big point here. I want to try to sustain my mana, right? And if I would go for increased mana cost over here, and increase mana cost on other sources, I could get up my arc to about 2500 mana. But now it is 1800, and I'm sometimes having even problems sustaining that mana with 1800. So how should I ever be able to do 2.5k mana, right? So this is the thing. In PUB it looks good because it's more damage, more mana cost, but in reality is if you're like mapping or bossing or anything like that, and you just stand here and just spam your mana, and it looks like this without the gloves, so you're gonna see it. I'm gonna deplete my mana pretty quickly, and then it's like this. You need to wait for mana to actually be able to cast, you know, and this on 1800 mana cost, so you can think about how this looks like on 2.5. So there is just no realistic way to get that much regen going where it actually feels good, so that's why I decided to go for some kind of reduced mana cost of skills. Good. That's how we scale our damage, and we also run Awakened Chain support. The thing is, like, it's not the best single target gem, but it's still like really good, and especially in terms of clearing, Chain is like amazing with Arc. You know, we also run like the one additional Chain Helm enchant. Basically, Arc chains a lot of times. Currently the version that I have 9 times, but it also says 15% more damage for each remaining chain, right? So that means if I have 9 chains, or at least, does it actually chain 9? Yeah, chains 9 times. So that's 9 times 15. It's a 135% more damage for a single target. Arc itself does have a pretty low scaling. It's like 120% damage effectiveness. Is not really good. But it just, like, as I said, it's both like clearing aspect and single target. But there would be better single target things. So if you want to make like grind uber bosses with that thing, if it's able to do, I need to find it out myself tomorrow or so, then you should probably not run chain. You would run like cruelty or empower or something, because it's like a damage loss in that case, even though it sounds like ridiculous when it comes to this kind of scaling. But yeah, good. Let's talk about the gearing aspect. All my items are primarily focused around mana and mana regen, unless they have something in specific where I say, okay, I need to cap my res or something like that, right? So my wands, for example, I made a tree here with spell damage, mana regen, very, very important, chain, wrath, aura effect, and arc, the arc node, right? The arc node basically just gives damage. And with this, like, oh, this gives you cold damage, MBX, have you thought about doing a cold conversion arc build? Yes, I've made the POBs. It's absolutely terrible, because you need something, because if I'm converting 100% of my lightning damage into cold, I'm just doing cold damage, but I don't really have any benefits. I need lightning damage, I do cold damage, right? With lightning damage I can shock, with cold damage I cannot. I can chill the monsters, right? So it's actually a DPS loss in that case. But conversion comes in handy when you play something like Eternity Shroud or anything where you get something out of it if you're converting your damage. We're not doing that here, so if you go like Hatred instead of Wrath, you know, all the like cold specific things, double Call the Brotherhood, I'm losing massive amounts of damage. So I would suggest play an actual lightning based build and just use this added cold damage as a form of like more damage, because 12% of mana cost, it means like 24% more damage on top of my existing lightning damage is just, you know, so that's fine. I think this is very viable for any other league that is not Crucible, because all we need here, you know, maximum mana is not really that important. The region is very important. Chaining range is just quality of life. Wrath itself is not the best aura, but a little bit of aura effect is like not really too much damage, right? But that's why I say, like, this is extra damage, this is extra damage, this is quality of life, this is mandatory, like, region is very important, and the other one is not either. So I can definitely see this build working out in any other league that is not Crucible, and making this tree cost me like 100 divines, and it's just annoying, and I hope I will never do a tree again in this league, because it's just, like, that terrible. But what I did here is I crafted this one, made the base, I split the items, so I have 2 times the same tree, and then I spammed Essence of Woe, I think, for spell damage, tried to hit mana, some cast speed. This one is multi-mode with lightning damage and regen. The other one is cast speed, mana regen, a bit of rest, like whatever, okay? So it's not like any kind of mirror tier weapons by any means, but, you know, you want to have mana regen, spell damage, lightning damage percent, and stuff like that to scale your damage quite nicely. Running here, Sigil of Power, Righteous Fire, and AoE. This is the Divergent version, so we get more spell damage out of it. The Anomalous Sigil is -1 stage, but this is more or less like when bosses or anything stand in that, once it's at max range, they deal less damage, so with 2 stages you get this layer of defense earlier, basically, but it's a little bit of a damage loss. Then on the other one, we run Stormbrand, Power Charge and Crit, and Culling Strike. This is something I added today. I don't know, this probably comes in handy with Uber bosses when you have Culling Strike. Like before, when I fought this like unique monster, I didn't even think about using my Stormbrand, so I was just filling that up today. That made sense for, like, you know, Power Charge. We get some extra crit, so it's easier to get LD Overload, but realistically I'm never using that. That's also the reason why I'm not running Control Destruction, even though POB says it's one of the best support gems that I could use on this build. But what Control Destruction would do, an Awakened version, is get my crit chance for Arc to like 1%. That means like every 100 times, every 100 hits of Arc, I would actually proc LA Overload, which means it's like completely unrealistic to keep a good amount of LA Overload uptime. So yes, in PoB it looks good, in game it doesn't look good because you cannot really sustain that. That's why it's always important, like, just because it looks good in PoB doesn't mean it's actually functional and good in-game as well, so always keep that in mind as well when you're creating your builds. Then I'm using Lightning Coil. Usually would use a Cloak of Defiance because of the mana regen, which is so crucial to this build, but since I have mana regen on my wands, I decided to go with Lightning Coil, because what is better than armor? Exactly, converting the physical damage into elemental, and then you have like a flat 75% damage reduction against that. And I'm running, actually I have like, I think like 90% physical damage taken as element, 50% coming from the Lightning Coil. Then I have a Lethal Pride with 1690. The Keystone doesn't really matter, but we get here 5% fizz damage taken as life, as fire, here 5%, and over here 5%. So that means 15% on my jewel here, plus is 65%. Then we are running a Taste of Hate, which would be 80%, but since we are using Pathfinder and Flask effect nodes, this will actually get scaled from it, and that's why it gives me actually more than 50% physical damage. So I would say somewhere around 85 to 90% physical damage taken as element, so I'm very, very resistant to physical, even though I only have like 3k armor or 3k evasion, right? Don't worry about that, we're converting all the physical damage and it's really feeling good. Then I have here Arc, the Anomalous version, which has like also chain range. And with Awakened Chain, I think I have like 90% increased chaining range with my Crucible passive, which is pretty good. Then we have Spell Echo, Lightning Pen, Archmage, Arcane Surge over here, and Chain. Then on the helmet, it's a Crown of Inward Eye, very strong, 21% increased max life, mana, and Global Energy Shield. I think with the enchant you get this for like a divine, so nothing too fancy here. I'm using Lightning Warp, less duration, Swift Affliction, and Brutality. And don't worry about the 620 Awakened Brutality, I had this one laying around. A level 1 Brutality is doing just fine. All you need to do for my strategy at least, I don't want to have Lightning Warp to kill monsters. That's why I have Brutality in, because as soon as a skill is supported with Brutality, deal no chaos damage, deal no elemental damage, so my Lightning Warp doesn't deal damage, so I can boss rush, right? So if I would just put this away, then you would see that my Lightning Warp has like up to 26k hits, and with Arcane Surge is going even higher, 30k, and this, like, it kills stuff, okay? Then for the gloves, I decided to go with Nexus gloves, and you might wonder, like, yo, it has 30% reduced maximum mana. Why is this good if you run a mana stacking build? Isn't it, like, better if you have more mana, like over 8k? Yes and no. More mana is better, obviously, but it's about the 30% chance to recover or to get back the skill's mana cost, basically, right? You're gonna see the difference here. Here I can, like, 1, 2, maybe 3 seconds of casting before I run out of mana, right? With these gloves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a bit RNG based, you know, like you can basically recover to full if I just hold down the button, but at the moment I'm just getting very, very unlucky. Like every third cast, you could like cast 4 times in a row, all of the 4 you get the mana back and you will stay at 100% mana, or if you're unlucky you cast 10 times and this effect will not ever pop. But there is sometimes I can just hold down and I can, as you see, I'm full mana right now. And unlucky. Now it's proccing, but you see, as soon as it procs, I can maintain the arc spamming, right? And this is way better than the 30% reduced mana cost. And don't forget, it's not a less mana cost, it's a reduced, right? And since we are running 380% increased maximum mana, we get minus 30. So we're actually running 352, right? It doesn't really hurt too much. It's like 400 mana in the end, but we have like a very good chance of like maintaining the mana cost once we spam it. And this is a DPS increase instead of like running out of mana and not be able to cast again, right? Having here Arcane Cloak, Arcane Surge, increased duration, and enhanced support, so we get more buff effect out of that. I'm usually running this on my left click, so as soon as you see over here, we have like, let's see, 379k. If I use this Arcane Cloak, we get to 500k. Because the more mana you spend on the Arcane Cloak, the more added damage you're getting. And it's like a very big shield. I think it's like, what is it? A 5k shield on top of that, right? So we're having like probably around a 7k, 7.5k EHP with a big shield and Mind Over Matter and Agnostic and those kind of things. This build gets very, very tanky. And in my current version, I'm running 137k EHP. Well, it's 115 for LE hit, 100k for Chaos, and like 70 for Fizz hits. In the mapping scenario, I'm running an Oriat's End Flask, and in a bossing scenario, I'm running a Progenesis, because I don't need the Explodies. It just is a good feels good thing for mapping, but for bossing, I'm actually using a Progenesis because it makes me tankier and it's easier to sustain big one hits. For the boots, it's just like spell suppression, movement speed, double res. I crafted this with essences with chaos resistance, so nothing too special over here. Running here Wrath, Blessing, so Eternal Blessing support, Empower, and Enhance support. Why Eternal Blessing? Because we don't want to reserve any mana. And this way, I can like literally like get Wrath to a ridiculous state with, for example, the Wrath notes over here. It says increased reservation. So if I put away Eternal Blessing, then my Wrath would reserve 195% of mana, so I cannot even use that aura even if I want to, because it's like so powered up with so many mana multipliers and so on. But what the Virgin Eternal Blessing does is that you basically, or Eternal Blessing, you can reserve 1 aura and that's your only aura basically. And this is our only aura. We can also run Supreme Vision that says auras from your skills have another 40% increased effect. Always sap enemies affected by Wrath, and other aura skills than Wrath are disabled. So what is sap? Sap is basically the alternate elemental ailment of shock. Okay, so usually these alternate ailments need to be activated through items, for example, right? Like the most common thing is this one jewel, I forgot what it's called, but where your Ignite instead Scourges, your Chills is using Brittle, and Shock is Sap, okay? But with this thing, we can have both Shock and Sap. And Sap is basically doing less damage taken from the enemy. So it gets up to a maximum of 20% Sap, and 20% Sap means I take 20% less damage of this enemy, and this is like a very nice layer of defense, especially when something like Arc that is just chaining and hitting everything. So all these monsters are having like Shock and Sap So it's like a nice layer of defense on top of that. Then we just run a rough Watcher's Eye with like increased lightning damage, maybe crit strike chance, or sustaining ally overload better, and lightning pen. Good. Belt, I just crafted this with spamming Lucent Fossil, and every item in this gear is actually crafted by myself. Spam Lucent Fossils, hit mana recovery rate, Shaper Base or Crusader, I think. Mana recovery is a multiplier to your mana sustain, so it's very, very important. Then I hit Flask charges gain, movement speed during Flask, and mana, you know? So, one thing I quickly want to answer is, a lot of people ask me, why do you not run a mana flask? And I think flasks are so important, and I would like to have 10 flasks if possible. And if I would have 10 flasks, I would still not run a mana flask, because there is so many strong unique flasks. I would even run a Bottled Faith for the increased damage taken, the Consecrated Ground, all that regen, maybe an Onslaught flask, maybe like, you know, Jake flask, Granite flask. They're so strong, and since we're running Pathfinder on our Scion here, we also gain 3 flask charges every 3 seconds, and my flasks actually last very long. So if I activate all my flasks, you see they're running like 15 to 17 seconds, and this is the time that I need to actually recover the flask charges. So I think I have like almost 100% sustain on my flask charges. That's why my resistance are looking that ridiculous. And we run a Taste of Hate, a Sapphire Flask, a Ruby Flask, and a Topaz Flask, and this also comes with a less damage taking of that element, and with all the Flask effect that I'm running, it's probably like 25% less elemental damage taken from elemental sources, so that's another, like, very good. Then I'm getting ailment immune through the implicit on my boots, 32%, and then I'm running a Corrupted, so avoid being shocked ×2, with the Storm Shroud Jewel, so I have like over 100% chance to shock combined, and that means applies to all elemental ailments, so I am elemental ailment immune for that. Good. Belt, we covered this. Amulet. So I got this amulet, it's a Fractured Temple modifier with mana and mana, increased mana. You would usually use something like an Aetherius Foible, which is top notch, but this one would be better. I chaos spammed this to hit +1 all, then I cleared the prefix, cleared the suffix, I multi-modded with cannot roll attack modifiers and prefix cannot be changed, and then I hit the Harvest Craft for Augment, or what is it, add a lightning modifier, which is over here, 15k +1 Blossom here, and this will 100% give you a +1 of lightning skills. What I did then is prefix cannot be changed, I veiled Chaos Orb, I hit the non-damaging ailments, then I crafted prefix cannot be changed, I took the 50-50 and was doing like add chaos modifier and removes another one. So it was a 50-50, either remove the prefix cannot be changed or remove the effect of non-damaging ailments, and then I would go back to like prefix cannot be changed, build Chaos Orb, see what I get. And yeah, I think this amulet turned out pretty good with like T2 Chaos Res. So overall pretty satisfying with Whispers of Doom because of my 2 rings, which is an ally weakness and a conductivity ring. So we are applying both of these curses, negative resistance, higher chance to shock, and stuff like that. They are both like literally siblings, they look exactly the same, kind of. What I did here is I essence spammed mana regen until I hit double T1 res. It's not like that I need double T1 res, but I wanted to go for it anyways, because I love my T1 items. As I said, like, my res are overkill anyway, so you can make this for a lot cheaper, right? The rings were not too expensive, I think like 2-3 divines or so for the base. As I said, SS spam into resistance, and then I made suffix cannot be changed. I veiled chaos them, and I hit maximum mana with recoup. Over here, maximum mana with recoup. And then I just like crafted this mana and regen, and then I just YOLO slammed. Here I got physical attack damage, leeches mana, who cares? Here I got T7 cold damage to attacks. I don't think there's any prefix that I could hit that would actually make any sense for this build, because all we need is like life and mana. These are the only 2 prefixes. We're a caster, we don't care about all these like attack kind of thingies. But with those 2 rings and quality, we gain like 18% damage taken recouped as mana, as well as the mastery, which also says 10%. So get 28% of damage taken, recouped as mana, also helps with the sustain. There is even an essence that I tried before. I don't have that. I think it was Insanity. That says a 10%, or amulets, 10% chance to recover 10% of your mana, which is also very good. So if I would do this again, I would probably go with the essence, because essence spam on a fractured base, try to hit like +1 lightning, try to hit spell damage, try to hit cast speed, try to hit anything that is valuable or good. I would probably go for, I think it's a suffix, so you go for suffix first, then you go suffix cannot be changed, and then, I don't know, reforge lightning with a cannot roll attack modifiers or something like that, and hope you get something, I don't know, good. That probably doesn't even work because we're full in suffix. But anyways, you get the idea, right? You want to try to get as many things that give you back mana, right? Even on the masteries here, recover 10% of mana over 1 second when you use a guard skill. Another one is like exactly the same as the essence modifier, 10% chance to recover 10% of your mana. Because in the end of the day, you're gonna have a hard time sustaining any kind of your mana. Good. I think we went over all the gear. Flasks, as I said, did as well. Let's take a look at the skill tree real quick. This is actually, you could, if you swap it a little bit around, you could get this jewel slot because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points and you swap in 3, okay? So this would be an option. If you really need a jewel slot, another one, you could take this one for 2 points and stop or not take the starting area here. Over here, mana flask, spell suppression, movement speed, mana, flask charges, some more spell suppression, and here we have a large cluster with prismatic heart and scintillating idea. There is actually one that has, I think it was Inspired Oppression, where it says mana regen against if you froze an enemy recently, and mana regen if you shock an enemy recently. That would be another like 70%, I think it's 35% for each. So you could stack those twice as well and get like another 140% mana regen. So mana is king, mana regen is your second best friend, because the better you recover, the more damage you can do, and the better or the tankier you are, basically. As I said, Watcher's Eye, Sublime Vision. Then I have here a Storm Shroud. Here's a perfect spot for an Unnatural Instinct. Then I have here some random Rare Jewel, Life, Mana Resistance. Pretty good, this one, actually. My Timeless Jewel. Over here I have Forbidden Flame Flash with Raider. You can take whatever is cheaper, because we're going here anyway. So if Pathfinder is cheaper than Raider, then take that one. Or the other way around. And here we have a medium Thread of Hope to get Agnostic, Arcane Surge, Divine Judgment, some crit, reduced damage from extra crits, some more Ellie res and chance to freeze, shock, ignite, and Ellie damage. So that one is pretty good. Good, that is the skill tree. Path of Building link is in the description below. We're currently running like a 9 million Shaper DPS with like over 100k EHP, and I think this build feels so freaking good. Can recommend, yeah, as I said, any day of the league. I just really like it. If you want to play that, try it out. Feel free to do so. But it's, as I said, it's not like this one-shot 500 million DPS build. For the MTXs, I'm running double Nightfall weapon with the Dark Magic weapon effect and the entire Dark Magic set with the Cerulean Flare character effect and Stygian Crystalline. I disabled, I think, every single aura, and the rest is just like, this is the purple arc. Looks like, in my opinion, the best kind of arc, because it leaves like these chains, and once you press like your Vile Arc on the Legion, it like zaps around and you see all this kind of like cool stuff. Then we have Harbinger, Righteous Fire, the Celestial Brand effect, and yeah, that is pretty much it. And this is the Lunar Paladin portal effect. I think that was from the Mystery Box, but I'm not sure. But this is like really cool. Like as soon as you go close to them, they're just slapping their sword in there. It's like, here, take this one. But it's not that easy to click, actually. I'm misclicking that shit quite often. Alright, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think about this build. And yeah, see you on the next one.